Relay for Life takes place in our community on June 6th and 7th. And it's a marvelous opportunity to raise funds, to raise awareness of concerns about cancer. And it's also a wonderful opportunity to celebrate the victories in terms of cancer in people's lives. And a relay involves a lot of people. Sometimes you and I can wonder, does my presence, does my participation really make all that difference? After all, I'm only one person. A relay helps us to see how important everybody's efforts are. The baton is passed from one person to another. What's important is that each person takes hold of that baton and does their very best. And the victory that the team wins is a shared victory with all of the participants. And that's a bit like today's Feast of the Ascension. Jesus gives his last instruction to his apostles and disciples. He tells them, "Go into the whole world and preach the gospel to every creature, for you are my witnesses to the ends of the earth." And then he ascends into heaven to be seated at the Father's right hand. He has passed the baton on to them as he passes that baton of opportunity on to us. And our participation makes a difference. And we're part of the Lord's team, his family, the church, and we share in his victory. He says, "Go into the whole world and preach the gospel to every creature. Take my message to the ends of the earth." Who are messengers of the Lord? I was making my list of people that have impressed me. And as you make yours and I make mine, we'll come up with a lot of names. But today I thought I would limit myself to 3. One is a lady by the name of Carm. Carm is now with God. But in Carm's younger days, she wanted to get married. But then her sister died, and her sister had several children. So Carm stepped in as the children's aunt, and she became a mother to those children. And she never was able to marry. Her plans didn't turn out exactly like she had intended, but she wouldn't change a thing. She was revered among those children not only as Aunt Carm, but as their mother. She was a messenger of Jesus Christ. She took hold of the baton of opportunity when it was passed to her, and she carried it well. Second person is a priest that I know who is from another diocese. People around him have told me that when he was younger, he had been asked to be their bishop. But in his humility, he turned that opportunity down because he believed that he could serve Jesus Christ and his people more effectively as a parish priest than he could as a diocesan administrator. But he wanted to carry the message of Christ to others. The third person is someone that I think we all know, Mother Angelica, the foundress of the Eternal Word television network, EWTN. Some years ago, she gave a Lenten lecture at St. John's Cathedral, where I was living, and I was her chauffeur for the day. Now, I can tell you this about Mother Angelica. What you see on the screen is what you see off the set. She is the same person. She'd been invited to have lunch at the cathedral, And Bishop Eisenman, who was the retired Bishop of Cleveland, was there at that luncheon. And Bishop Eisenman did not mince words. And he said to Mother Angelica, "Mother, you belong in your Poor Clare convent, not on a television set. You belong in the chapel of that convent praying for us." Mother Angelica replied, looking him square in the eye, "Bishop Eisenman, if you bishops in the United States were doing what you ought to be doing, carrying the message of Jesus Christ on the airwaves, I wouldn't have to be doing it myself. And I could be in our chapel praying before the Blessed Sacrament for the likes of you." She is one of God's messengers, feisty and all, but to carry the Lord's message to the ends of the world, to the ends of the earth. But does that mean, if we're to be God's messengers, that we all have to become priests and nuns? Well, I think some of you should. I think perhaps God is calling some of our young people to serve in priesthood or religious life. But for most of us, it's serving God right where we are, where we live, where we work, where we go to school. There are as many ways for a Christian to serve the Lord as there are Christians. God has something for each of us to do, and if we don't do it, it probably won't get done. He's passed on that baton of opportunity to you and to me, and wants us to take hold. Does that mean that in being His messenger that I need to be a fanatic? No, it doesn't mean that either. It means being a Christian all the time, in every circumstance, without exception. It means doing the big things as well as the little things, and most often it's the little things we're asked to do that are so hard, or they seem so insignificant. But when we do the little things, it's amazing how those can be big things in God's estimation. What does God ask of me to do? To be loving to somebody who needs my love. To be patient with somebody that I find irritating. To go out to others. To forgive somebody that has hurt me without my holding a grudge. To persevere in something the Lord has asked me to do without throwing in the towel and quitting. Go out to all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. Carry my message to the ends of the earth. Here's the baton. Grab hold. It's your turn. We do that every time we celebrate Mass on the weekends. You'll notice as part of the entrance procession, the lector, the reader, carries that big red book, the book of the Gospels, carries it up the aisle, and then places it on the altar reverently. And then during the Alleluias, the priest, namely me, picks up that gospel book as we sing, Alleluia, 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 carries the gospel book over to the ambo, the pulpit, and proclaims the gospel for all of us to hear. You'll notice that that gospel book is carried in, but at the end of Mass, we don't carry it back out. Why? Because during this Mass, we have received the Word of God within us. We have received the body and blood, the soul and the divinity of Jesus within us. And so at the end of Mass, we carry out within us the Word of God, the life of Jesus Christ.